Hello, everyone. Welcome to the virtual Hue Chat. Wow, so we are going to be able to go to a tanning salon, get our manicures and pedicures done, and even get a tattoo starting on Monday. So things are definitely opening up. But again, we are all having these discussions and these feelings. But we do have a very important announcement that I want to make. We have workshops coming up put on by Tech Manitoba, and they involve inclusion training for balancing family life during COVID. Now, before there was a very, very modest workshop fee, but they've now announced that the workshops are absolutely free. So definitely worthwhile to take in these workshops. Go to techmanitoba.ca for all the information. Now, today's a very special show. We've got two very special guests, actually, Tracy Bowman and Cynthia Fortlage, who is zooming in all the way from Bogota, Colombia, I think. So let's open up the chat and bring in all our wonderful ladies for a Thursday Hue virtual chat. Hey, everybody. Hey, hi, Tracy.
Hi.
Hey, how have you been doing?
Good. Busy, but good.
Yeah, doing everything, right? The many hats that you always wear,
Yeah.
and even more, yeah. And the boys are all good?
Boys are all good, yeah.
Well,
Upstairs, hopefully doing homework.
fingers crossed, yes. Hi, Kirsten. There's Susie. Hey, hi, Nanette. Hi, Charlotte. Oh, Cynthia. Look at you. Oh, my goodness. Oh, no, that's just a background. And hi, Allie. Great to see everybody. Yes. Okay, so I'm just going to do like some introductions. We have the lovely Tracy Bowman joining us. And Cynthia, you all know too that she's Mayor Bowman's wife and everything like that. And life has so much changed, I guess, for everybody. And this lovely lady down here is Cynthia Fortlage, and she is chiming in all the way from Colombia.
Wow.
So, Cynthia, okay, we want to know, how is life? What is life like? COVID life in Colombia?
You know what? It's living the dream life in lockdown.
Yeah. Well, we'll get more about, what you stand for and what you talk about too is acceptance without understanding. So I kind of thought about it, and that's a great theme. Acceptance without understanding, especially Susie, since you sent me so many things about this other wonderful lady that I'm hoping to get on the show. And, we had talked about racism. We've talked about a lot of ugliness that is coming to the surface right now. But I guess too, as well as kind of accepting the place and where we're at and how we can grow and build and become better people, I think, on all of this. I'm going to throw it to Tracy too. I mean, yes, it's a tough time, but then dealing with your children and, their fears and their angst too. What have you learned, I guess, through all of this, raising a family, but also dealing with this very, very unprecedented time?
I think a good word that I've learned through all of this is resilience. And it is amazing what this entire community is going through and what kids in particular. I mean, we always say kids are, flexible and adaptable, but that really is very apparent now. I'm noticing my kids, while they miss their friends, they miss hockey, they miss all those different things that kids should be doing. They should be playing baseball, they should be swimming, they should be riding their bikes with friends, all those things right now, and they can't. Right? But they are managing. I don't hear a lot of complaining. We try to do as much as we can as a family by doing a lot of biking, going to play basketball, whatever that looks like. But I find, the kids they're just overall really resilient and doing the best they can with online learning as well. It's not easy for anybody. It's not easy for kids, for parents, for teachers. This is a very difficult situation. But everything that we're doing is making us stronger as people, as a family. And so I think there's obviously better days to come, but I feel that we're really strong through all of this. And I'm really impressed with my kids at how well they're doing.
Have you ever asked them, even to document their feelings or experiences through all of this? Because it kind of is a historic time, right?
Yeah, and that's been part of some of their schoolwork that the teachers have asked them to do is, do a video or recording or write down how you're feeling about this time. And, my kids aren't the kind of kids that would journal every day. That's not really what they like to do, but they do it every once in a while. And, they talk about the things that I've mentioned. It's friends is the key thing, right? That socialization. Our kids are very social beings. And so that's what they miss. They miss that they just can't go out and do normal things, like when play structures were closed, all those sorts of things. And so, we have talked to them about that. This is, hopefully this is like a once in 100-year type of thing. And they're living through this right now. What is it like as kids? It's different for us as adults. So we're trying to pull that out a little bit out of them. But I find they're just, as I said, they're very resilient and adaptable and doing the best they can with this new normal right now.
Yeah, I know. Well, and even your job too at the university. I mean, yeah, they announced fall classes are all online too. I mean, it's very unpredictable. And I mean, you look at all of the big educational institutions, they're not sure, they're not opening. So the fall will look very different, I think, huh?
It will. And in my job in alumni relations, we're in the people business. We're in the relationship management business. And so much of that work is done in person. We're realizing as we've had to change and pivot on a lot of different things that we're doing, so it's forcing us to be more creative in how we engage with our alumni online, right? And we're finding that there's an appetite. People are Zoom is the way of, it's just the nature of what, if you aren't on at least one Zoom call a day, right? I mean, we're doing this a lot now, right? And so we're finding that there's a real thirst and interest of our alumni all around the world because we're all in this together. And so we're finding some really neat opportunities of how we can bring things to them and how they can be part of it. So it's been some interesting challenges that way, but definitely some opportunities that we're seeing as well.
Yeah, well, it's all about trying to stay connected. And I know this has just been, actually, it's been great too, to meet so many different people. Cynthia now, darling, how has travel been? And tell us, I guess, let the others know a little bit more on your adventure that was supposed to be this great adventure of travel.
Yeah, so I mean, the short version is after a 30-year career ending in an executive role in Winnipeg, I decided that I really needed to shift things for a number of reasons, and I decided to go travel the world. 2020, what a year. Yeah, December the 26th, Boxing Day, I took off to Santiago, Chile, and spent a month there. Then I went to Lima, Peru, and fell in love with so many things in Lima. And then came to Colombia a little bit cautious. And 3 months later, I'm still here. And I know that I've got, due to international flights being canceled, and I know I'm living here for another 3 months. So it's been an adventure. And that's why we travel, is to have an adventure. So that's what I'm doing and learning to live like a local.
And so what is life like right now? You're in Bogota, correct? Or
No, in Medellin. So
okay.
in Medellin, I think it's about 263 kilometers away from Bogota. We are still under a federal lockdown. Lockdown meaning you do not leave your home 7/24. Streets are patrolled by police. The air is patrolled by the Air Force. You have your 1 day a week based upon the last digit of your ID document, passport in my case, that dictates what day I'm allowed to go out to go grocery shopping. And that's it. There is no going out for walks or bike rides or anything. Now it's supposed to end on the 31st. We went into this situation on March the 13th, so we've been locked down continuously. And they've transferred from national lockdown to regional lockdown, but we haven't been given the rules for the regional lockdown as of June 1st. We're expecting it'll be same as it is, with certain things opening up. We're also under a curfew from 8 p.m. to 5 a.m. Every day. So that's what life in Colombia is like.
Oh my goodness. And so like you are isolated. You don't have, there's no kind of support for you, right? Like you're it.
I am it. I am lucky that I do have a roommate as part of the group I was originally traveling with. So a gal from the UK. We've gotten to know each other really well. And other than that, Zoom and other technology has kept me in touch with, many, many folks all over the globe, all the way from Europe through to, of course, back into Winnipeg. And you know what, it just, it is my new normal. But then I kind of adapted and prepared for, living 50 pounds of my life in 50 pounds out of a suitcase for, up to 2 years. So I would say that I probably came into this a little bit more prepared than many.
Oh, well, it's good just to see you and know that you're safe.
Yeah.
But now, Cynthia, we talked before, you've been on the Hue crew, and there's a very interesting, I guess, dialogue that we had around your theme for your life, understanding without acceptance.
Yes.
So if you want to just sort of expand on that and how it's been globally accepted.
Yeah. So the premise behind acceptance without understanding, of course, like many things in our life, it comes from a deep experience. And in short, what it means is the realization, through, school and, through certainly post-secondary into our careers, we're always taught, to ask why. We need to gain understanding, which really means as a society, we've built this culture of, I need to understand in order to accept. Now, as somebody who identifies within the LGBT plus spectrum, having people learn to accept me within that role, was very challenging, including within my own previous marital relationship, etc. So what I've come up with is saying, no, it's about acceptance without understanding. We are all human beings. We are all unique. And we're all on our unique journeys. And so therefore, you just need to accept that I'm a human being on my unique journey, just as I accept that you are on your own unique journey.
Wow. And so, I mean, and how is that sort of being well, you're trying to do work, right, too, while you're down in South America, too?
Yeah, so as I've been traveling, I've been in the midst of writing a book about acceptance without understanding, really along the self-help kind of line. I also, without planning it, I ended up, because we had so much downtime, I have created a website and launched it in order to create a foundation for that. And of course, public speaking and coaching were the other elements that I work on. And I've continued to coach. I've got clients over in South Korea that I work with already, but it's also, the public speaking part. What I found is, as an English speaker, in many parts of the world, it's absolutely easy to have a public speaking career speaking only English. In South America, if you do not speak Spanish, you're very handicapped. So I've been trying to learn Spanish at the same time.
Yes. Oh, see. Oh, wow, wonderful. I'm just gonna, Allie, it's so great to see you too, Allie. And I guess Tracy knows Allie too very well. And your thoughts sort of on what Cynthia's platform is all about. Acceptance.
I was actually just going to be typing saying talk about inspiration, because everything you're saying, like, not only in just to, like, I have to just say, like, you're in a completely different place across the world right now and you're handling it way better than a lot of people are handling it. So, like, massive kudos to you. That's really awesome to hear. And then when it comes down to your platform, and what you stand for, I can't give you enough respect for it, because a lot of the time I get really exhausted, and I'm sure and Charlotte and Kirsten probably know what I'm talking about, when I have to explain something to somebody, especially when it comes down to something like my mental illness, when I have to consistently explain until they understand. And that's not the point for me, right? That's not the point. Is I want you to accept me as who I am. I don't want to have to get frustrated and continuously tell my story. And I think that kind of goes into trauma-informed approaches too, right? Like making sure that we don't always need to open up and unravel it, so long that you understand that this is me and that's me, and you accept me for who I am. Then we're going to be on a mutual respect. I don't need to be someone's best friend to respect them. And I think that that's one of the best things that I could have heard today. It was really inspiring to hear that. I think a lot more of us need to use that approach just in our everyday life, right? Because I'll find myself in explaining something for a really long time and go, that was exhausting. And I didn't even need to do that, because they could have really just either Googled it or just looked into it themselves or whatever it may be. And so I just really want to honor you for that, because that's really special. And I hope that I can continue to do some more of that in my own life.
Wow. Susie, well, you've met Cynthia before too, but you know what? I mean, we're always talking, and we had the conversation too yesterday about, you know, all of the racism and everywhere that's happening. And I mean, that platform is perfect right now. It's just accepting. But yeah, so what do you think now? Can we use this platform and even spread it out more?
Well, I think that it's been a really hard week on social media for a lot of people, and I don't want us to become desensitized to what we see on social media. So there were very graphic videos that were published and probably seen around by quite a few people, and I did not look at them or watch them because it's too traumatizing to look at it, actually. And we have to be careful about using those images and things like that as and sharing them and things like that for exposing other people to that trauma as well. I think that we can be active, excuse me, we can be active in using our voice, but I think we have to be really careful about how we use those images and videos that people were sharing. I think now is a really good time for listening, as we talked about before. Excuse me, ladies. But my heart is just really heavy with everything that's happening in the world in Minneapolis. And, you know, we're not immune to it here in Canada either. And I think that something has to be done, something has to change, because people should not be dying just for the color of their skin. That is an awful, awful thing. And the fact that our children are growing up and this is still happening to people, it just blows my mind. And I don't want my children to grow up in a world like this, and it's up to us to change it. I'm tired, I'm angry, I'm heartbroken for so many people.
Yeah, well, Tracy, how do you kind of monitor social media with your boys too? And I mean, it's pretty hard, isn't it?
Yeah, you know, our boys aren't on social media. We'll show them, you know, various things on Facebook and Instagram and whatnot. I like Instagram because it's a happy place, or at least it's a happier place, right? Twitter can be very challenging. And I mean, social media is the purpose is to connect and, you know, to share and whatnot. But as Susie's mentioning, some of the things that have been shared are very disturbing and troubling. And unfortunately, that's the world that we're in as well. And so, you know, just from our unique situation, I mean, my husband's uses social media a lot for sharing information. And there was a time that I was looking, I mean, I share and reshare a lot of his posts as well, but there was a time that I was looking within the comments within his posts. And for self-preservation purposes, I can't do that anymore, because while I'd say about 90–95% of people are very positive and say nice things, and it could be a very simple, benign photo like he like, loves to take beautiful pictures of Winnipeg and just say, you know, good morning, Winnipeg, or just share something. And then you'd have someone, you know, post something that is, I don't even want to repeat. And that's really hard. And so, as I said, I don't do that anymore because, you know, he's got a thick skin. I don't. It's become thicker, but it is really troubling how people use social media to say whatever they want behind whatever kind of, whatever name they put on there. But what they actually say to that to the person in person, maybe they would, I don't know, but it's very hard. And so you know, those are things that I monitor for myself, and the boys have never seen any of that. But in terms of as our kids get older, I mean, our oldest is 12, like when is the right time, you know, in terms of going on to get an Instagram account or whatever that is. At this point in time, we've decided it's not the right time for our boys, and so we'll what that looks like. And Susie, being an expert in this area, could probably share, you know, when
Tracy, I totally agree with you. And that there's something that really just turns my stomach is parents who lie on the apps just to get their kids, you know, involved or get accounts. That blows my mind, because it's the same thing as buying them liquor. Like, really, like, what are you trying to prove by, you know, lying about your kid's age to get them on this social network that really doesn't benefit them in a lot of ways? In fact, it can do a lot more harm. So yeah, Tracy, I totally agree that if it's not right for your family and not right for your kids, absolutely hold fast to that, because as I say to my kids, social media is not going to make your life any better. In fact, it may make it worse when it comes to children. Absolutely. And maybe even for a lot of adults too. Yeah.
So what is the age where you can allow your kids to go on Twitter and have an Instagram account, whatever? Or is that all subjective?
Oops, sorry. The age is determined by the App Store. So most of them are like 12 plus, some are 13 plus, but you see a lot of them, you have to have email accounts. So that means you have to create either a Google account or an iCloud account. And once you create a Google account for your child, you use for their birth date for that account determines what kind of advertising they see, no matter what platform they're on. So that is a huge concern. So if you're lying and saying that your child is 15 or 16 or whatever, that changes what advertising they'll be targeted for. And that is a slippery slope, because there's all kinds of things that are targeted towards children as far as internet ads are concerned, right? So that's my huge concern with that. And obviously as well, it has to do with your child's mental health and well-being and emotional maturity. Now, I always say that most adults are not even emotionally mature enough to handle the internet, let alone social media. So we have to be really cautious about how we open that gate for our children. And children should never be allowed to use devices without parental supervision as far as social media or even gaming is concerned. They should all be in public, parental, open spaces that you can always see what's happening and keep an eye on them, especially now that they're home. And we've talked as well before about grooming and child predators online, and we have to be super hyper aware of that for our children right now.
Wow. Well, that's great. That's great information, because I didn't know any of that. And that, you know, really, we've had Joyce Smith on, and you know, she's such a great advocate for the pornography and for children. And you're right, Susie, this is a whole new ball game. Charlotte and Kristen can chime in now too. Okay, now this is all going somewhere else too. Well, social media, we're back to it, right? The good, bad, and the ugly. I mean, a great thing to keep us connected, but now all of the ugliness is cropping up. Is that kind of like a cycle too? Or, you know, Charlotte too, with this all, like, you know, when something happens, like social media blows up, right? We're in isolation and we're, you know, typing all these or sending all these messages, and now we've been in this for probably longer than we ever expected. So now the feelings change. So is that kind of like a roller coaster? We were talking about that on Tuesday.
What my head first goes, what happened in Minneapolis would have blown up regardless of whether we were in isolation or not. I mean, it's just a horrible thing. And that's been the talk of everything that we've been on this week in our peer support world, supporting what that looks like, and exactly what, you know, Susie was talking earlier about. Kristen, you want to chime in on that, because your kids are younger on the social media?
Sorry guys. Yeah, Susie, I completely back everything you said about it's the parent responsibility to be on top of what's happening. My girls are 20 and 22, and you know, Instagram was brand new. You know, things were happening really fast when they were 14, 15, 16. And I took it upon myself, just my choice of how it worked in my family. And apparently, by my kids' standards, we're the only family who didn't allow the cell phones to go to bed with them until they were 18. But I went and I introduced myself to the manager of the Apple store, and I educated myself on how to put on restrictions on their phone. And I had to. And so I got my head around it really quickly. But social, I completely agree, Susie, social media, nothing good comes out of that for young people growing up. Images, and I'm talking images about how a female should look. The bullying that goes on online.
And just the proliferation of porn. Like there's so much pornography that's out there, right? And I say to my kids, these, and whether it's, violence or pornography or whatever it might be, once you see something, you can't get that out of your head, right? Once you've seen it, it's there. And that's the challenge that I have with the accessibility to the internet, to social media, all these things, is that we need to be really protective of our kids. That's all. Yeah. Sorry, Kristen, please.
No, I completely agree. And often that can be by accident, not because our children are trying to see certain things. My daughter, we were doing a project on the Canadian beaver, and that's all I'm going to say. But when we were researching that, she was young. But I also wanted to comment, Cynthia, with everything going on in our world today and with what happened in Minneapolis, which I cannot believe that happens on this planet today. Your platform, and I'm just looking at your website, Girl Power Productions. You've warmed my heart in a really tough week. So kudos to you for it almost gets me emotional. So I'm glad I stumbled upon that. Thank you.
Ladies, we actually have a question from a viewer that's watching. And they say, what do you think about kids on YouTube? Susie.
Sorry, I'm trying to unmute myself. I always struggle to find that button. So there's two parts of that, right? There's part kids are like unpacking games and things like that, or kids watching videos of kids playing with toys, which again I don't get, but it's out there. And a lot of that is done with permission, right? So there's that. Second part is, yes, there are a lot of kids that are posting content to YouTube. That is, again, a source of great stress for me, because your child should not have a YouTube account until they're 13, minimum age. And again, there's a lot of things about YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, whatever that video stuff is, that is a minefield for a young person, right? So again, it boils down to, do you know what your children are doing online? Do you have access to their devices? Do you know what apps are on their phone? And if you don't, you absolutely need to. So if goes to the Apple store and getting all these things set up, absolutely you should have your Apple family set up on your phone so that you can control what apps your kids are downloading. Please don't forge their ages so that they can get access to apps early, because you're not doing them any favors, really. You're actually exposing them to possible bullying and other issues that you might not even know about yet. So that's my fun sponge answer. It's that you are there to protect your children, and giving them access to these networks before the recommended age is not a good thing to do for your children. I know everyone's going to say everyone else is doing it. Yeah, I'm the parent who says, I don't care what everyone else is doing. This is how we do things in our house. So yeah, you have to protect your child, number one.
And then Susie, maybe you can talk about, if, like, I know in the case of my daughter was bullied on Facebook, and some of the images, trying to get those down.
Yes.
Once they're up in the internet, like
exactly.
So maybe talk about that a bit.
Right. So one of the things that, I talked about with my kids before they went and got their accounts, whatever, is that I've always said to them, first of all, if you're a parent, your child has one Instagram account that you know about and one that you don't, if not more than one that you don't. That's just the way it works. Okay. You have to be ready for that reality. Second part is, I told the kids, I hate to talk about, back in my day, but if we can all think about our 13-year-old or 14-year-old selves, can you imagine, have you ever read your diary from those years? Have you sat down and read your diary and thought, oh my gosh, imagine now if that was on the internet forever. Like, the person you are when you're 13 or 14 is not the person you are when you're even 18, 23, 44. I've told my children, live your life, do not document it on social media. Just don't, because you will do yourself so much more good and so much more favor by just living your life and not being concerned with how it looks or how, it appears on social media. Now, that being said, they still use the apps to take, pictures and share with their friends. That's fine. Have fun. But please remember that social media is not real life. And that's one thing that we really need to express to our kids and to drive home. And that matters too with how you use social media. So do your kids see you, taking 25 selfies before you post it? Or when you're out and about, I guess before pandemic life, when you were out and about, are you more concerned with getting the perfect picture or experiencing that moment with them, right? How we use social media affects how they use social media as well. So I think we really need to talk about that and what social media brings to our lives. Like, can you live an hour without your Facebook or Instagram? Because if you can't, how do you expect your kids to? Right? Yeah.
That's, I'm seeing TikTok a lot. Okay,
So much TikTok.
I explain, Susie. It's your show. Guess okay.
So one of the things about TikTok is that actually when this pandemic hit, and I was doing some media talking about, how life is going to change as people work from home and things do. One of the things I actually encouraged parents to do was to do TikTok dances with their kids, because your kids are home, and if your kids are older, I say like 14, 15, 16, they're probably doing these TikTok dance challenges anyway. So if you want to have some fun with your kids, that is a way to have fun with your kids for sure. And they can teach you how it works and they can show you all the fun things. But again, then it's a family thing. It's not something that they're doing in their, room all by themselves, or that you have no idea what it's about. If it's something you can do together, I think that's really fun. And again, it gives you a way to, bridge that age divide and to talk about, so what is this TikTok? Why do you like it? What do you do on there? And they say, oh, you're such an old, you don't even know what it's for. That's fine, but you can still have some fun with them. Yes.
Oh my God. Wow. So getting on now then, where do we go from here? I mean, yes, if we talk about educating people, can we turn the tables on social media and bring it back to where it is for the good and not?
Well, depending on the executive order that's being written in Washington right now, Twitter might be offline by the end of today, so I don't know. But that's probably not going to happen. But again, you know what? It's the same as the world out there. We can't save our kids from the whole world, but we can certainly educate them and empower them and teach them our values and ask them to be that model and to mirror those values when they're out in the world, right? We've talked before, and I think Joy touched on this as well, about, and now, especially during this pandemic, when they're home with us, we have to use this word, unprecedented ability to connect with our kids in a way that we haven't had before. And I think that is a really healthy thing. And that should serve a really positive purpose, to be more loving and to be more vulnerable and to just be there for them. And, they need our attention more than anything. They don't need this. They need us.
No.
Yeah.
So I got my other husband having a meeting down, or my husband down there having a meeting. Okay, he's gone. We're still trying to figure out, right, how much you can hear and how much you can't. And that's another thing too. I mean, even kids pick up on how parents feel too, right? And their anxieties and we can't have
to go back to what you were saying too. Media and the use of social media is that it really needs to be a family conversation. Mm-hmm. How we use social media, how parents use it, how you expect your kids to use it. And again, I'm a big fan of communication and just talking. So listening to your kids as well, saying, okay, so why do you want to have this account? What's the reason for it? What are you going to do with it? And find out what their motivation is. And if it's just because everybody else has it, maybe we need to have a talk about what that means. And why does everybody else have it when they're 10, when you're not supposed to have it till you're 13 or whatever it might be, right? That's a really good way to, again, talk about your family values, to talk about what's important to your family and to your household, and why that might not be the right move for your family and your child right now. Talking, communication, regardless of what age they are.
Wow.
Can I just say, Charlotte, aren't you so glad that our kids are of an age where they're out of that world? And my youngest, who's 20, actually made a choice about 2 years ago to take her 1,600 friends off Instagram and scale it back to about 60 friends. And that is acquaintances, right? Nobody has 1,600 friends, but they do get to a point where hopefully they start to recognize the damage that can happen and how this isn't good for their wellness overall. And even to a point where during what's happening at this time, my youngest daughter, who's 20, is doing a lot of knitting and a lot of painting. And she's got her sewing machine out. And I mean, get off the phones. So that's my 2 cents.
There's also I don't want to say it's a movement, but there's also a visible split in terms of, Generation Z and older kids. So you're going to see a lot of kids, and I've seen this before in the blogging community and on Instagram, kids who are actually saying to their parents, stop posting pictures of me.
Yeah.
I don't want my picture on Instagram. I don't want my picture on Facebook or whatever. And these are like little kids, like 4 or 5, and moms are kind of like, whoa, like, you're right. Like, I should not be posting your picture and, sharing things about our life or whatever without your permission or your consent, really. And it's an interesting thing because these kids are realizing that I have no control over this image when mama or daddy posts it. And your kid comes home with a report or has a good hockey game, where it's like, don't post that. And the parents are saying, well, why? And they're just like, because I don't need anyone to know. This is my life. This is my success or whatever it might be, or my failure. Maybe it is, because there's a lot of parents who post about challenges or, how many blog posts have I thought about where moms talk about potty training, and that's like etched on the internet forever, right? Like, we need to remember that these children are people too, and they're going to have a long life after we're gone. And where does that digital footprint look like that we started to create for them before they even had a chance to consent to that? So I really like that conversation about consent and what they're willing to post or have us talk about in a public sphere, which is social media. That is a public sphere for sure.
It's another thing. Tracy, you want to chime in here? I mean, even with your boys and everything, and
Yeah.
I'm sure there's an instance, circumstances, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So just on what Susie was saying, you'll notice that in the majority of the posts that Brian and I post, it's never about our kids, and that's purposely done. And if we do post a picture of our kids, and it would be as a family, not just of the kids, we ask their consent. It's very important, and we would never post a picture that would put them in a compromising situation. Or when you see a kid in a diaper, yeah, it's cute, but you're right. When they're 20, that's not cute, right? And so I think that's really, really important. And we do it also from a privacy and a security standpoint, because we're in a unique situation. But I firmly believe that it's, that living your life versus posting everything about it, right? And posting pictures of your kids. I'm not a big fan of saying, well, I love to see cute pictures, at the same time I'm feeling, I don't think those kids probably consented to having that picture posted.
Oh, Allie, I mean, hey, social media, this is, you're right in it and living it, and, the good parts for you and maybe the bad parts.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I've had a lot of bad parts, I will say, and I can't express how much I am the same with you, Tracy, in the sense of I did a lot of opinion pieces when I was in university, and then I would do a lot of initiatives when I was in university, and then even just leaving that and kind of getting my opinion pieces out there. I didn't read a single comment. That was my rule of thumb, was number one, it's out there. I'll share it to my family and my friends. They'll probably print it off. My mom will print it off. That's good for me. And I don't want to read a single thing on there, because it will just tear me down of whatever high I'm on, because I just did something great. And that's something that I have to really remove myself from. I've had instances in the past where I've even had violence attacks on me, and you know, it went to the media and stuff, but those photos were used of me to make memes out of my face, like my face that was attacked and beaten and bloody, and those are circulated everywhere. So you even come down to think, what is okay to even share with the media, right? It's like a really deep conversation that this could expand out to, is myself putting myself out there and saying, you know, if you're a woman at home experiencing gender-based violence, please do come forward. There's other people out there. That's why I'm telling my story. And in turn, putting yourself out there vulnerably then was made into a bunch of memes of my face, right? So there's the negative piece on it. But then on the positive piece on it, I also received an outpour of love from women across the globe who just saw my message and saw my thing and said, one, you inspired me to come forward about something of my own. And two, I'm here for you and I hear you. And that stuff is what I love. That stuff's what keeps me going. If I go and speak somewhere about my own lived experience and then I get a mother of a youth or something reaching out to me, those are the things I live for, right? Hearing like, thank you so much, and that's what I needed to hear. Those things are amazing for me. But also in gaining, of course, networks like all of you lovely ladies on here, it's really important, and these are the great things. But then there's also the incentives I was thinking about with youth as well. With youth, you can get paid to be a YouTuber, right? You can actually get paid to be a YouTuber and make a lot of money, surprisingly enough. Like, it's wild. And to be an Instagram influencer as well. So there's an incentive at the end of it too, is every ad that gets paid or every ad that runs through every single YouTube video, they get paid for that, for doing these things and for being a brand ambassador or for being XYZ that they, you know, think of. And I can't even, for myself, when I took a job up in, as a minister's assistant, I was like, what's all over my Facebook? You know, like, I don't even know from when I was, even when I was 15 years old, the posts I write and I read, I cringe, right? So it's all about that. Those conversations, if someone could have stopped me from writing that really cringy post a little while ago, that would have been great. But I think that there's so much into it, both youth, both adults, that you want to get that positive message out, and then there's always going to be something that is negative on it. So I just try to really pull myself apart from that and use it for the biggest positive pieces that I can.
Wow. Yeah. Cynthia, you want to chime in? I mean, to social media, you said you need it. Yeah.
Absolutely. You know, it's intriguing as everyone was talking and sharing. You know, I immediately reflected back on, as part of my executive career for 6 years, I oversaw the corporate social media requirements for the Winnipeg organization that I was with. And at that point, we were starting up. And so my job was to get people to adopt and to get online and the whole bit. And, you know, then as Ali was talking, I was thinking, there's a lot, especially in the Facebook history that comes up, as I went through my own personal journey since 2016. Not only did I do it on the job, but I also did it publicly through social media. And as I see all those messages come up and remind me, and some of them are very cringeworthy, because I remember the moments of my state, my emotional state, my psychological state at those times. And I was reaching out in order to get validation, in order to really accept myself in that moment. And now I look at it and I go, I accept myself. I don't need that external validation. And why did I go there? But I did. And so you kind of reflect on it. And when I look at that, as we talk about with kids, and, you know, just think from an organizational, when they grow up, the culture that gets created within an organization and the liability that comes. And it's not just when you get into a leadership position and you have fiduciary responsibility, but there's also this aspect of, you know, people go, well, what I do in my time, that's my business. Not when it reflects on the brand of the company you work with. It could actually lead to dismissal. So, you know, people learning these behaviors actually carry through all of their life. You know, as Susie started off and has very eloquently addressed, that really is the crux of it, is that we don't realize what the outcome is down the road. Since my intent was to educate, I still see the educational element, but the person that wrote some of that stuff 4 years ago is not who I am today.
Right. But
Yeah.
hey, congratulations though that you can realize that, and Allie realizes that, and and all of you. I'm not on Facebook, so um, but I just think that you both of you show such great strength into realizing that you are a better person, that you do have the confidence now, and it's true. I mean, yes, everything, the horrible things that had happened this weekend in Minneapolis and that are happening. Social media, I guess, sometimes is the fastest way, right? You're hurt or you're angry, and I'm gonna type this out, without realizing. When it's there, it's there. I guess maybe now is the time to sort of, when we're all together, you're right, Susie, start that line of communication, talk, before striking the keys or, texting on something. But
Yeah, and it really just boils down to, again, what are you using social media for? And, we've all heard the term keyboard warrior and all those things. You're not going to change anybody's mind about anything on social media. Like, that's just not how it works. And we need to be mindful of, like Cynthia said, like what we type and what we put out there stays out there. And so we have to be, responsible for our behavior and how we act or react in any situation. And when it comes to, a Facebook thread or even a Twitter thing, you don't have to answer every fight you're invited to. Like sometimes you just have to let things go. And, how many times have I typed out, response and then delete? And sometimes it just feels better to type it out and then hit delete, right? Because you're not going to change anybody's mind anyway. So the art of conversation is still, if we were meeting face to face like this would be wonderful. But yeah, be careful and mindful of how you use social media, especially right now, in this unprecedented time. People are on edge, people are not at their best, and sometimes it's just good to keep on scrolling. You don't have to answer, you don't have to like, just keep on going. Yeah.
Well, Susie, I've heard you say many times before, and that is not only whatever this is, but we're in a pandemic. And these are different times. And anyone who goes, oh, no, I'm still, they're just lying to themselves. I have had to work through what does that really mean and feel. So absolutely, every time you say it, I go, yep, that's exactly what it is. Not only are we dealing with XYZ, but we're also dealing with ABC. And that pandemic is always a part of all our thinking.
wow. So, I mean, I don't know how long this is going to last. I mean, starting Monday, ladies, we can go have our manicures and pedicures and get a tattoo and go into a gym if you want to. I don't think they're going to be breaking down doors, but I guess from all of this now, what have you learned about yourself? Allie, she's typing and then deleting.
I actually learned in the beginning of all of this, I was like, okay, I'm going to fight this. This is the time for me to do some self-discovery. I'm going to be the most productive. I'm going to learn how to knit, crochet, you name it. And then I did get into plans. That one stuck. That one did stick. But I was finding myself being really hard on myself in the beginning of, why am I not taking up more? Why am I not learning another language? Or why am I not doing this? Why am I not doing that? And that was really, really hard on myself. But I think every day is a new day, right? For me. And every day I kind of just take it on as it is. I don't want to throw myself with too much productivity or even be too much of my own worst critic, because that's what I tend to do. Is I tend to be too hard on myself if I feel like I'm not out there and doing too much. So kind of in terms of what I'm doing right now and what I've decided to to do with my spoons, and the rest of my energy for, I guess, the rest of the time is take on what I can take on, and be there for everybody else right now. I've decided that number one priority right now is that everybody needs something. And I don't know what that something is for everybody. It could be different. Maybe somebody just needs to have a phone call. Maybe somebody needs a surprise something on their doorstep. So right now, what I'm doing in this pandemic and how I'm trying to kind of keep calm and pandemic on, I guess, is just go with the flow, keep the vibes going, keep myself happy, but don't push it and not get mad at myself if I'm not doing something that I had a goal to do, or if I'm not running 6 miles in the morning. My goodness. I just need to understand that some days I'm allowed to, you know, do what they say and sit on the couch and not leave my house some days. I'm allowed to do that. And I think that has really switched my own view. Like, I learned a lot about myself in that I have a lot more resiliency than I thought. I've been able to deal with a lot of situations that I would have assumed pre-pandemic, I would have assumed I wouldn't have been able to deal with at all in a general nature. I probably would have went a lot more south. But things that have happened during this time, I've been able to handle a lot better. And I don't know if that's because I've had a lot more time with myself and a lot more time to value myself, but I have been doing a lot of self-gratitude and a lot of self-love, because I may not have done the 6 mile run in the morning that day, but I did tell myself that, you know, that was a really good paper you wrote and submitted on time the other day. You know, those kind of things. I'm celebrating my small victories right now, and I'm learning that I don't need to be doing 101 things, but as long as I'm making myself happy and can spread it even just a little bit, that that's what I've learned about myself, and that really my resiliency has grown. And I think all of our resiliency, our kids, the youth of Manitoba, all of us, this is going to strengthen us completely, because really we're stuck with our own voices, guys. We can only hear so much of ourselves for so long. So I've learned a lot from myself, but I'm ready to shut Allie off for learning and getting back to my school learning, and just being okay and being content with who I am right now.
Wow. Tracy, is that one of your little guys there?
Yeah, one of my little guys is going back and forth. Yes. Oh, he's saying hi. You know what I've learned is, you know, I would concur with a number of the things that Allie's mentioned. As a fellow runner, you know, kudos to you to getting up. I'm not running as much as I should be. That's the one thing I wish I was doing a bit more, but the day goes by and it just doesn't happen. So, but the one thing that I have learned is that we actually don't need a lot. Not a lot, like we need a lot of love, like we need a lot of people, but we don't need a lot of stuff. We actually don't need to go out as much as we do. You know, going to the grocery store every 7 to 10 days or whatever that looks like. We don't need to be shopping all the time. We can make do with the clothes that we have. You know, while, you know, hockey and swimming, all those things are important for kids. They don't need it all the time. Like it is interesting what are needs and wants, right? And I think we're learning that, I mean, the one thing about that is that it affects a number of businesses who support those wants that we have, right? But we don't need everything. And I hope that after all of this, that we're able to think about those needs and wants and really prioritize what's important for us as people and as our family. So that's been really interesting. And I've also been reading a lot more than I used to. So that's been good.
Yes, no doubt. What about you, Kristen?
You know, I don't want to sound like Pollyann, but because this is a horrible global situation, clearly, but I have enjoyed some of these pieces of slowing down and everybody being at home and everyone kind of being around the kitchen, making dinner, cleaning up. Lots of conversations that are happening at home. It's been really nice to kind of just have the quiet. And just enjoy the family. And as far as the things that you don't need, you're right. We don't need to like jump on that treadmill and go 100 miles an hour and obtain a whole bunch of things and do a whole bunch of things. It's kind of nice to enjoy the quiet and get back to the real basics. and the simplicity of that family unit. So, you know, for my house, financially, we still have paychecks coming in. That hasn't been really disrupted. So, and I know that's certainly not the case for everybody, but so for us, there's been pieces of this that I've enjoyed. But I'm hoping we don't all go back to normal or what our normal was, or I'm certainly going to try not to do that. And I hope our whole perspective shifts a little bit, and I hope we carry some of this through the end of the pandemic with us. So there's some positives, and I don't mean to sound all Pollyann, but I'm enjoying all pieces. Yeah.
Well, that's what this has all done to you. You become Pollyanna. This is great. Charlotte, how about you? I mean, yes, I mean, with your business too, I mean, this has been like boom time.
Yeah. When Robin and I started our business 2 years ago in mental health, who would have thought we had set up in our business plan everything that we teach and do online. But there was always that component of travel. Robin was normally gone 3 weeks out of every month traveling, as well as all our online, and I was gone maybe a week out of every month. And what's happened with that is that we don't have to travel as much, and you know, our clients are really embracing the Zoom. You know, right now we're in training with people in Dauphin and Manitoba for the implementation of peer support into Emerge, and so they're all together in Zoom training right now, getting to know each other, and it's going really, really well. So Robin is really talking about not, when this goes back, not traveling as much, and just really like being specific of where she goes, and not jumping and running every time a client's, you know. We've got a client in Prince Edward Island, and depending on what October looks like, you know, she may go, she may not, and they're fine with that. On a personal note, you know, I talk about like what Kristen's saying, we're really celebrating the gifts and the reality. So two people who live in my house have more anxiety than they ever had. They're real organized planners, and their life is always very set. And this uncertainty has heightened their anxiety. And I try really hard not to get caught up in it as well. In our training with families, we talk about mental health is a parallel process between each family member, and you know, how their mental health affects yours, and how yours affects theirs. So just being really, really mindful of supporting them, but not having my anxiety increase over it. And I use Susie's line all the time, like, we're living in a pandemic. I know that you have to keep thinking about that, and you know, whether you finish your degree online or, you know, going to the university, you know, it's really going to depend on that. And the gifts, like Tracy said, I'm not exercising. I go to the gym. Me not going to the gym is killing me. So I have become a little more jiggly than I had, that I've ever been. But the gift I'm celebrating right now is my family's all here, and my daughter, her boyfriend is living with us right now. He's a chef. So when I stop work, I get lessons. So last night, I learned how to make gnocchi. We ate at 10:30 at night. Then I went to bed and got up and went to work. So, you know, a little bit more jiggle from that, but it was fantastic. I now know how to make that. Tonight we're having smoked brisket. It's been on the smokers already this morning. So really excited.
Well, we could stand on your driveway, you know, distancing all of us, and
yeah.
little samples. Oh.
Yeah, Robin says, what are we having for dinner tonight? And I'm like, oh, this is okay, I'm coming. I said, well, you know, it's a little late. But anyway, so there's a lot of gifts as well that I'm embracing.
Well, that's great. Cynthia.
Yeah, it's, you know, to what Tracy was saying, when you decide that you're going to travel for a year or two, you definitely learn to get rid of what you don't need. So again, I kind of came into it, you know, literally my life in 50 pounds in a suitcase. That's my life today. So the gift that really has come out of the experience was, you can imagine, you know, all this travel, you go to new cities and there's lots of new food to try and on and on. And you encounter so much FOMO, right? Fear of missing out.
Oh,
And so the challenge has been, I started with all the intent of I'm going to work on this and I'm going to work on myself and I want to work on loving myself and accepting myself more and on and on. And FOMO just was so busy. Like I didn't have time to do anything. I was just so busy doing other stuff or fear of missing out. And this has just brought a calm and a pause. And I don't feel guilty that I spend the first 2 hours of my morning on me. And I've implemented gratitude. I wake up, the first thing I do is I put an app on my phone, and within 30 seconds, I grab my phone and I open that app, and I don't do anything else until I've listed 3 things that I'm grateful for the moment I've woken my eyes. And then once I do that, then I will go take a look at some of the messages that I've written before in terms of just, you know, just trying to remind myself, what am I grateful for? What am I, you know, looking forward to? I'll sit and do some yoga. I'll do some specific meditation about the intention for my day. Just one thing, just what's my intention for the day? And then I kind of come out, then I'll listen to the news, and then I'll do my Spanish class and stuff like that. So it just, you know, I have 2 hours dedicated to my own self-improvement and my own self-love. And that's been an amazing gift.
oh, that's wonderful. And Susie, hopefully your heart isn't too full of sadness now.
You know what? One of the things about this pandemic is realizing that you can have the full gamut of human emotions running through you at any given moment. Like from the depths of despair to, like you said, gratitude for just the fact that we made it another hour or another day, you know, kind of thing. And yesterday I was thinking about like spring break and summer vacation, right? So there's always a point in one of those places where the kids start to drive you just a little bit batty. You're just like, oh my gosh, I can't wait till they're back in school. And we haven't had that happen yet. And that there's 2 sides to that where I think like, oh, this is so great, you know, they're getting along or whatever. But then a part of me also is sad because they've basically accepted that this is the new normal, you know, and we've talked about that before, like how I'm a little bit heartbroken and how they've just, you know, resigned themselves to like, well, I guess this is it. This is the new normal. I'm just going to have to live with this. And I mean, kids are amazing. They are resilient, and they're also really humbling in that respect. So I'm really grateful for my kids, and every day I get up to, you know, bake them some cinnamon buns or, you know, whatever, but their perspective, and I'm just glad to be with them every day. I'm just glad to be with them and to hug them whenever they need a hug, and to, you know, go for a walk with them, or to just snuggle on the couch or help them with math homework. Or my husband did a comic with my daughter yesterday for schoolwork. I'm glad that I can be here with them during this time, because I would be sad if I wasn't able to be here with them. And my heart goes out to all of those people who are essential workers and people who are still, you know, putting themselves on the front line and being out there every single day, whether it's, you know, hospitals or grocery stores or whatever it is that we're using these days, and don't have that option of being home with your children and or anyone else that they're caring for. So again, it goes back to being kind and being compassionate, and to just really taking a deep breath and seeing how we can just put more good out into the world every day.
Wow. Well, I feel the same like every you, like all you guys. And I've just now learned that there's cocktail hour around the world, at least, you know, starting in the morning or the afternoon. Now, I think I am really grateful for this whole platform, just to be sort of together, you know, and to talk with each other. I think this has been my therapy, is just listening to all of you. The topics never are boring and we can all relate to. I'm a little sad. I think we're going to take these to once a week because I know that people's schedules are getting back to more normal. So we will be having these every Tuesday. What the new normal will look like, I'm hoping very soon that we can all be together in one room, except for you, Cynthia. I mean, I would love to come and do a show in Colombia, but you know, international travel may put a little bit of a dent in that. But if we can be in a place where safe distancing, but I know, you know, I'm learning now through all of this, everybody is different. And I have to and will accept anybody's, you know, safety levels, even how they feel, right? Everybody has their opinion. And I think what I've learned from all of this is that I respect your opinion. I may not agree with it, but I respect how you feel. And I do not want to ever impose my feelings or tell you that, no, this is the right way. And that's, you know, and that's been, you know, hard a little bit, but I think we all have reacted to this differently, but I think in the bottom of my heart, we've all reacted to it very beautifully. I mean, what you all bring to the conversation table is really amazing. And my hope is that your words resonate with more people. So I'm more than happy to continue this on for June and would love to have you all back. So next Tuesday, I'm thinking, what are you going to do for summer vacation? And I hope some of you have some creative ideas because I really want to hear them. And then also too, I would like to, Folkorama has been canceled, but they are implementing new ways to bring Folkorama to your home. So I'm hoping to have Tina back maybe and talk a little bit about that. And again, the cultural card, right? It's still weighing pretty heavy, and on ways that, you know, we can do and how we can help as people, you know. So anyways, ladies, thank you so much. Have a great weekend and stay safe.
Take
Bye-bye.
care,
Thank
Tracy.
you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.